All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back into another NBA prop betting live stream. Have you guys covered here with this Thursday slate? Now, hopefully, we're not going to be getting too many, too much. Oh shoot, one sec. So is the audio working right now, guys? Because the volume on it is not showing up. So if you could leave a comment or leave a message in the chat, let me know if the audio is working. It's just not showing up on my microphone levels. I just listened to it back in the live stream. It seems to be working, so it's just not showing up on mine. So just let me know that. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. So apologies for the start of the video there. But today is going to be kind of an interesting day with it being trade deadline day. And with that, there's a lot of players that are listed out that maybe potentially do end up playing. And so that's the tough part about today is we could place bets that are going to start off looking very good. And then maybe as the day progresses, actually end up being terrible. The vice versa could also happen as well. So that's part of the issue there, guys, is that today could be a really good day or it could be a day in which some of the bets that we're getting on are terrible. That's just as simple as it is. This is a day where I could see like juicing some bets or teasing some bets down. It's really kind of up to your risk tolerance there. So a very interesting day. And let's just start off here with the opening day. I also want to spend some time talking crap about shams, but we won't do that just yet. Not yet. If anyone wants to bring that up, that's fine. But let's start off here with the opening game, guys. There's actually not going to be much here for Brooklyn versus Orlando. Both teams, kind of didn't make very many moves here, so we're not going to be getting any advantages like per 36 when we're looking at some of these players here. And so that's just an interesting thing here for me. And so we kind of just take a peek at some of the bets that we are getting here, guys. The best bet that we actually have on the board today is actually Nick Claxton to get a steal over 0.5 steals. If you want to get to that one, you can. You guys know by now, I typically don't like targeting those types of bets. To me, they just end up being a little bit too thin. Now, from there, guys, Anthony Black over 1.5 threes, about a 53% likely to hit. That's okay, but let's just kind of do a quick version of this. So here are the top bets. Let's see here. Clowney has been someone that, has been a little bit better recently, but yeah, I don't think we need to spend too much time on this game. So let's go ahead and jump on into the next game here, which is going to be a team that's pretty darn thin. We got Washington versus Detroit. Okay, so Washington, they got a lot of people that are out or that were traded, and so it is kind of really tough to gauge what is exactly going to go on for them. That being said, I don't think we're really getting any great bets for them. We are getting one pretty solid bet for Jalen Duren. It's a fantasy score bet on Underdog. And then we also do see that, Cade Cunningham questionable. Obviously, if he sits, that would probably help Duren a little bit. Tobias Harris questionable. If one of those two sits, that does help out the other one a little bit. If Cade sits, that helps out Harris a decent amount as well. And so it is kind of a weird spot there in regards to breaking down it. Duncan Robinson, some that would benefit if both those two end up sitting as well. But really, the only player that we should be betting on with confidence is Duren. So let's touch on that. So these are the few best bets that we were getting here, guys. So George over 4 rebounds. I'm not messing with that one. And then Justin Champagnie under 9.5 points. He's actually someone that if you do look at kind of the per 36 production with Jones, Middleton, McCollum off the court, which is weird there. He gets the third most minutes, and so I don't even know if I want to mess with that. Although per 36, he does average 12.3 points. So if he's only projected to get 20 minutes, then he probably still does get the under in what is a blowout, a low-scoring game, and a tougher matchup. So you could potentially get to that. Let's go ahead and talk about that Jalen Duren bet. So, guys, right now on PrizePicks, this is at 39.5. Okay, and I would say it's basically the correct line. On Underdog, it's at 37.5. I like the idea of betting the over on Underdog. Okay, and if you look at it, he's gotten the over the last 4 games. Did get the over against Washington as well. This is very much a bet based off of the matchup. And so I do end up liking this one a decent amount here. And so, yeah, this is one I already made on Underdog. We're going to have 2 other spots where Underdog's giving us some pretty good prop line advantages. So we're going to be getting to that spot there as well. But after that, I mentioned like Duncan Robinson. If you want to be a little bit risky, you could get to this one knowing that he still could get the over in a good matchup against Washington. Again, if Cade or Tobias Harris sits, becomes a better bet. And the reason why I don't mind that is because, well, this game is a 14-point spread. Like the chances are with this game being a blowout that one of those two do end up sitting. So I really, really don't mind that. And I'm seeing a comment here. Who do you get traded for? Leave in the comments there. I'm interested. So hoping we get some trades. That was fun. 2 days ago when we were getting a bunch of trades throughout the live stream. But yeah, Duren, guys, over his fantasy score and Underdog. Not going to highlight that as a bet because, well, it's going to be an Underdog bet. Let's go and take a peek here to the Pacers. Interesting. Okay. Should just look it up on my end here. See, I can't trust Shams. I can't go to Shams' account and trust anything he reports. I guess trades you can trust him on. Anything other than like finalized trades or contracts, you can't really trust him on. So I'm just seeing that he's been traded to the Pacers. I mean, that's a weird move. It's a weird move. Interesting. Yeah, Mathurin, I don't know. I'm really shocked. I saw the rumors that like AO could get traded to the Bulls, or sorry, the Pacers and Bulls could have a trade, between those two players, Mathurin and AO Dosunmu. Like that trade makes a ton of sense to me because obviously the 10 guards that the Bulls have is insane. They're going to be, we'll talk about the Bulls, but they're going to be starting Yuki as their starting point guard tonight, most likely, which is just crazy. But let's talk about this Utah versus Atlanta game, guys. This is a pretty interesting spot as all of the Utah games have been. It seems like Utah is extremely thin, most likely. I said it because, again, I mean, they're going to have to start some players. I mean, Yusuf Nurk was active in the last game, guys, did not play a minute because, well, they need to have 8 players on the bench, which was just kind of funny. But we do know who benefits the most here in this spot. It is Isaiah Collier. I was really shocked at the lines that we got for Collier in the last game, and he ended up just dominating. And I think we are still getting some decent spots with him today. Not too big of a spread as I would have thought, only a 10-point spread. And part of that's due to, I guess, the Hawks being thin, although they're not. Like, none of their big time starters are really out tonight. They did make a trade for Kuminga and Hield, but like Porzingis had been out a decent amount already. And so that's kind of interesting to me. I do think we're getting a little bit of some stacking spots here. So let's pull up that game. Let's start with Collier. So what's interesting about Collier is you could argue that his lines are still too low just in general. Per 36, he does average 16.6 points per 36, guys. But in the last game, it is worth calling out, he ended up playing all the minutes. He did not leave the court. And they might be forced to do that again with how thin they are at the point guard spot. So that could easily end up happening. Per 36-wise, he does average only 10.7 assists. So obviously he had 22 in the last game. This might be a little bit too high. This is really shocking to me that they're giving us a line of 11. But if he does end up getting 11 assists, then there's a great chance that he ends up getting this over fantasy score. I would just be on the lookout for what the line comes out to be on Underdog. If they have a line for him, I'm just going to assume their line would be lower because this does feel a little bit too high. Although per 36 wise, he does average 41 fantasy points per 36. This is a high scoring game, and it's not a game that's projected to be, that much of a blowout. So he should be able to get that over. I don't hate the idea of doing his over points and assists as well, but at least his lines are, mostly logical here. Like they make sense at the very least. But he's someone that's still in a game stack I'd be trying to get to it. Laurie Markkinen also has his lines mostly correct. Per 36, he does average about 27.7 points per 36. There's a chance he actually ends up getting more run as well. Only 34 projected minutes for him. Only played 27 minutes in his last game as well, which to me, a little bit concerning, but still, he's someone that I think we should be targeting. Some interesting ones as well, like Ace Bailey. You would think he's going to get a lot of run in this game. Really went off in the last game, guys. 33 minutes is what he's projected for. Ended up getting 40 minutes in the previous game. We look at when he gets a lot of minutes. He does tend to get the over here. But at 33 minutes, he typically averages about 26.5. Now, we do need to adjust it for the per 36 production with all his players off the court, closer to 30. So the only way that we're going to really be betting on a lot of these Utah players is simply if we think they're going to get more run. The player I want to bet on the most was the same player I wanted to bet on the most on the previous slate, Kyle here. He is someone that averages a double-double, 11 rebounds, 13 points, 36 fantasy points per 36 as well. We're just not getting any lines from him, so that's pretty annoying to me there. And then do need to mention Cody Williams as well. Cody Williams is someone that, 18 for his line when he could end up getting 30 plus minutes as well. Like that, that's interesting. So again, it's not necessarily the best take to say. I like the idea of betting on like most of the fantasy score overs here in a game stack, knowing that 3 out of the 4 are most likely going to hit. It's just predicting which one doesn't is the tough part. But honestly, I think that's kind of the route that you go here if you want to stack this game, because it is appealing. It's a high scoring game, close game. Should be able to get to some spots here. And then for Atlanta, it is tighter. I wish we were getting some good spots for Atlanta. Rice sure for over 10 points. I don't necessarily like it. Decent matchup though. Daniels, 6 rebounds, okay, but do we really want to chase the push today? Probably not. So let's go ahead and jump on into the next game. We got the Bulls versus the Raptors. I can talk about Yusuf Nurkic here. So it's not a bad call. I guess it's trade, like if he's active, he's active. Like, and if he's starting, you're right. If he's starting, probably not a bad idea to be on him. I don't mind that. What are his lines today? So his points and rebounds. Not a bad call out. I don't mind that. It's just with him, being active in the last game and then not having any minutes. It was just weird. I get why it happened. But let's move on into Chicago versus Toronto here, guys. So Toronto did make a trade, but nothing like too crazy there. The Bulls obviously extremely thin. The tough part here is like it makes sense for Sexton to play. It makes sense for Ivy to play or even Simons. Like they probably need one of these guys to play, right? Like Yuki could end up starting here. We'll see. But I do really like the idea of getting a Patrick Williams and or Jalen Smith tonight. I actually like both of those a decent amount here. And that's just simply due to really how thin the Bulls are. Like they're going to be forced into playing a lot of minutes. The issue with like looking at per 36 production, guys, is that it's an extremely small sample size. So if I were to look at it with DeSumo out, with Giddey out, Kobe White out, Trey Jones out, we don't have a proper sample size. And so that's annoying. But I do like the idea of getting a Patrick Williams and Jalen Smith. Matas is probably going to get forced into a lot of minutes as well. How much can we really trust him? And that's kind of the tough part there. Obviously, Vooch is out. And so I'm going to try to get a decent sample size per 36. It's very tough to like manipulate the data, if you will, to get a proper minute size. Because AO had been the player that, as you guys know, benefit the most with Josh Giddey and Vucevic off the court, and we were just like jamming that in there for quite some time. But yeah, I can't even get a proper sample size with all those players off the court. But with that being said, I do think we are potentially getting some very good value. And that's where, when I started the video, I was saying, like, there are some spots where I really wish we could juice some of the lines. I think that's what we do here with the Bulls. And this match with the Raptors is not terrible. So, like, I like the idea of getting a Jalen Smith for his overs here. Per 36 wise, he should be able to crush. But the issue is, how many minutes will he indeed end up playing? Are they going to, like, to me, they're tanking, right? It makes sense to get him a lot of run here, but they really have been restricted his minutes. You know, we see 3 games in which he's been able to get over 30 plus minutes. In all those games, he's basically crushed. You know, it's not the best matchup, but he's been playing well. And so I do expect him to continue to play well. I would want his minutes to be higher than this. I think a lot of the public money is coming in on this as well. The fact that he's a 53% likely to get over 9.5 rebounds and assists, which I agree with. I like that spot. But the fact that it's like that high of a likelihood to me tells me there's a lot of public money that came on this. That being said, per 36 wise, he does average 9.2 rebounds and 2 assists. So if he is forced into getting more minutes than what he's projected to get, then I like that. And worth calling out is over 12.5 points. I don't mind as well. Probably a little bit of a better bet, although the matchup is difficult. That's the one concern again. And we do need him to get more minutes. But again, I did bet on his over 27 fantasy score. If you want to get to his over points, we can toss that in there as well. Now, from there, it is tough because like Okoro could end up getting just a ton of minutes in this game if everyone is out that, you know, was recently traded for. And then he ends up being pretty appealing. To me, Patrick Williams is the player that makes the most sense. Like Ulbrich is their actual center who's not really even that tall. So I don't think we want to mess with him. I like the idea of betting on Patrick Williams to just get a lot of minutes in this game, because to me, it makes a lot of logical sense. Project to get 28 minutes. I think there's a chance he ends up getting more than that. Now, the issue with this game is it could easily end up being a blowout, right? I mean, the Bulls are playing just a bunch of backups, and so it could easily end up being a blowout. And then how many minutes does someone like Patrick Williams really end up getting? You know, that ends up being a little bit of a concern to me. But overall, I do like this spot for a lot of these Bulls players, and just in a weird way, just betting on them to have to get minutes. But again, until we get that final confirmation, it is maybe a little thin. Matas, I'm concerned betting on him. Like, he should be able to go off. This should be the spot where he just goes out and dominates. Per 36, he does average 19.5 points, 8 rebounds, and about 3 assists. So the lines are basically already adjusted correctly for the spot for him. Yeah. So, yeah, Matas line's too high. And then, yeah, potential blowout. You guys are right there. This is a good call out here. Jalen Smith threes. I don't mind this. That was one that I was looking at a little bit. And so if you want to get to that one, by all means. Fair. Good comments, guys. Good comments. Yeah, I think ultimately the best approach with Matas is kind of take away and see, but also, again, that's kind of my point of tonight is like you can really take advantage of, I think, some lines in some of these spots where you're just bumping up the players, juicing them up. Or if you're on like a more traditional site, you could be chasing, teasing down some lines or betting on some unders. And so let's see here. Demon wise, I mean, Jalen Smith over 1.5 assists, you could do that. It's not terrible. him to get over 14.5 points, I don't hate that as well. Like, I think that could end up being the logical approach here for the Bulls. And again, some of the other spots as well. But let's go ahead and jump on into the next game. An interesting spot here for Charlotte. Okay, Charlotte traded Colin Sexton, who for the most part had been a decently high usage rate type of player. And so with him being off the court and Mike Conley not playing, Kobe White most likely not going to play, like we can assume the players that they at least traded for are not going to be active, which ends up being pretty huge. And so with that, I'm kind of expecting LaMelo Ball to really go off and have a pretty solid day today, most likely. His usage rate is about 30% with basically Colin Sexton off the court. This game is a close game, okay, 3-point spread, but it is a low-scoring game, as basically all Houston Rockets games are. And so that's the tough part. That's the really tough part here. Because I really like the over for, well, both him and Brandon Miller. The thing that's like keeping me from really going in on some of the line discrepancies that we're getting between these two is the matchup. And so let's start off with Ball. So Ball, guys, we see his underdog line is at 34.75. I end up liking this line a decent amount. And we do see that like this could end up mattering, the decent prop line difference that we have here. Again, the matchup is brutal, but the minutes ultimately should be there for him. And if the minutes are there for him, he does get this over. Okay. Per 36 with Colin Sexton off the court, guys, he averages 48 fantasy points per 36, has a usage rate of, again, about 30% there, which is obviously phenomenal. I do think they did a good job of bumping up his other lines for the most part. If you wanted to bet on his over rebounds and assists, that has a 52% likelihood to hit. You could end up doing that there as well. Obviously, that's going to be a little bit more appealing just based off of his last three. But I'm kind of okay just betting on him to collectively have a good game. North Cornell per 36 bites, he does average about 26 points per 36 as well. And so we do need the minutes projection to be a little bit higher. Okay. Or we need his actual minutes to be a little bit higher than what the projected minutes are. Like if he gets closer to 33 in this game, which again, he might be forced into a little bit extra run, an extra rotation, just because they have to, because all those other guards are still out. So I think that would end up being a pretty good spot. I do think that Brandon Miller's minutes floor should be pretty secure. And there's a chance he ends up getting more than the projected minutes that we have him for here at 31. He is someone as well at 32.5. That might not seem like a big difference, but the 0.5 difference to me is pretty darn huge. Like he gets the over in this matchup barely. You know, he gets it 4 out of the last 5 games then. And so overall, he is someone that per 36 with Colin Sexton off the court, guys, has a usage rate of about 34 himself. Fantasy points, 42 fantasy points per 36. He also averages about 25 real life points per 36. And so this one has almost a 51% chance to hit. I don't mind the idea of targeting this bet as well. We do see in his last game, didn't really shoot the basketball well, 2 for 12, which I mentioned this with Najee Marshall the previous night. Didn't end up working out. He was terrible. The point I'm trying to get at is this is a difficult matchup. So it wouldn't be surprising to see him also struggle tonight as well, shooting the basketball in a difficult matchup. If it weren't, a lower scoring game and just a more difficult matchup, I would be more confident betting on this because he's a pretty solid scorer overall. Having that terrible night the previous night, you would expect him to have a better night. And so overall, I don't mind that. Again, I'm a little bit hesitant just due to the matchup. Okay, so we got someone else playing Brandon Miller. Like it. Hornets be wild. Did he go wild with the rebounds? Let's take a peek at that. What, just 6 rebounds? What? That trade doesn't make any sense. They're protected picks that could become unprotected. Well, that's just a weird trade. I actually like Mathurin. It's a weird move. That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, if you're going to do that, why not go get AD? Honestly, you could have got AD for cheaper. It's basically the same play. You know you're going to suck. You're trying to tank. You don't really like. That's weird. It's a weird move. I mean, hopefully it's a good fit. Hey, now he's getting better as a Bucks fan. He is getting better lately. It is weird, kind of how bad he was at the start of the season, but yeah, I get it. The Clippers, man, that's interesting, just in general for them. Weird trade, right? Oh, sorry, weird trade for both teams there. I don't really. That's like the first one where I'm like, indifferent about it. Let's just take a peek at some of these other bets that are being pulled in here, guys. So Diaby, under 21.5 points, rebounds, and assists. 53% chance for that, dude. I mean, it is a difficult matchup. I would agree with the data points. I don't hate this one. I actually think this makes a lot of logical sense. Kalkbrenner's still going to get about 20 minutes. Grant Williams is active. Josh Green's still there. I think this makes sense. But we'll get to that one. Just chasing that tough matchup. You could also do is under 9.5 points. About the same. I just don't like the recent game log there. So that's why I'm preferring the points, rebounds, and assists a little bit more. Not messing with KD. And Con, overall, I don't mind it. You know, this is a fine line for him. I don't think we need to get there. I will say, do you guys find the lack of trade talk? Let me phrase this better. To me, as a Bucks fan, the trade talk around Giannis has been strange, especially in regards to the Warriors, because they're pretending like the Warriors wouldn't be in potentially a worse spot than the Bucks if Giannis were to also get injured. Because of the assets you would have to give up to acquire Giannis, then that's devaluing the team there and just the spot, especially with Jimmy Butler being banged up. I don't know. I always thought that, like, to me, the logical approach should be ESPN trying to force the Warriors to trade Curry. Like, that makes more sense because they're a team that does need a reset, actually. And so it's just weird, the logic behind that. Maybe that's just me being a biased Bucks fan, but that was one team and trade. I'm like, this doesn't make any freaking sense. What are we talking about here? The reason the Bucks are in this spot where there's even trade talk about Giannis is because he's injured. And you're going to tell me a team that's going to trade all these assets to him that they need to be a decent squad, and then Giannis is going to be gone, and then they're just forced into the team that they have in this game, and we'll talk about them in just a second. Just strange logic. I'm like, what is going on here? The Bucks are a 4 seed when they're healthy with Kevin Porter Jr. and Giannis on the court. They're statistically a 4 seed in the East. And it's like, what are we doing here? It's just very strange there. I think most of you guys know shams, scam with that stuff. I just want to bring that up. And that's mostly because of the comments about Miles Turner. That got me excited to talk about that. Yeah, I can't bet on Con lately. He was someone that I didn't mind earlier on, but he's fine. But yeah, we'll jump on in here to this next game after I got done with the rant. No, it's not even the media. It's ESPN is my biggest issue in general. It's like a bunch of circular references. That's all it is. It's like, Shams will, let's just say, make up a story. I mean, he's not. I'll give him credit there. He's not. But it's like speculation just based off of his own information that he's thought about in his head pretty much. And I get it. Like, there's probably more to it. But it's like you're telling a story and you're avoiding the actual facts. You're taking one piece of the story, but you're not telling the full story. And it's like, okay, ESPN will then trust Shams. And then you got Brian Windhorst making up his own stuff off of that. And then you got Kendrick Perkins making up stuff off of those two people. And then it's just like this circular reference there. And like, we're completely missing the point of the context of the comments from either Giannis's agents or himself, or when the team and the coach specifically says he doesn't want to be traded. And then they keep doing it. It's weird. And yes, it's all for clicks. We know that. But like, at what point does that not happen? Like, I don't get how they just get away with it all the time. It's like insane. Now, don't get me wrong. Shams is getting it today. NBA fans are giving it to him right now, as they should be. I mean, it's crazy. It's, as someone brought up, like the Scoot Henderson, he's going to be picked to Charlotte. Like, I forget what year that was. And then people were giving that to him today too, which I just found kind of funny there. But yeah, let's jump into this next game here, guys. We do have the Dallas Mavericks versus the San Antonio Spurs. So a very, very difficult team to break down. Okay, Daniel Gafford being questionable actually sucks as well. Just look at all the players that are day-to-day or could play or could sit, right? Like, what do we do with this? That's the tough part. Now, we do know who benefits when Russell's off the court, when PJ Washington's off the court, when Daniel Gafford's off the court. We do know that. The issue is, what happens if AJ Johnson plays? What happens if Chris Middleton plays? He's someone that could be bought out. Not to bring up the Bucks again one more time. I hope he does get bought out and the Bucks can bring him home. That'd be great. But then you have Marvin Bagley. If he plays, really not bad. And then you also have, Daniel Gafford. If he's active, I mean, that changes like a lot of things here with what we could be looking at for Dallas. And then for the Spurs, they have some players listed as day-to-day. I'm actually really shocked at the spread here. You're telling me this is only a 7-point spread? Like, that's crazy to me. And to me, that leads me to believe that some players are actually going to end up sitting. This is a 228.5 game total as well. So not a terrible game total. Dude, this was driving me crazy. All right. I mean, it's just like the Bucks have denied Jimmy Butler twice already. Like, that's what's insane to me. There's like rumors that the Bucks went to Giannis. I guess this is part of it. I guess that'd be part of it. But the Bucks went to Giannis and were like, who would you rather have, Chris Middleton or Jimmy Butler? Was basically the gist of it. And then they also had a chance a few years back to go out and get Butler as well. Like, they didn't want him. It's just like, what are we doing here? But yeah, let's get into this game. I don't want to spend too much time on my Bucks. I don't want it to be a homer live stream. Dylan Harper is someone that is currently questionable, guys. He does draw a good matchup. Sat out on the front end of a back-to-back yesterday, so you would kind of expect him to play. I don't hate it, but also I do feel like a lot of the Spurs players that we don't necessarily need to get to them. So, like, really for me, I want to be looking at some of the Dallas players a little bit more. Obviously, Cooper Flag has been someone that's been going off over the past couple of games, guys, just really crushing it, which per 36 wise, you would kind of expect that. Again, with Washington, with Russell, with AD off the court, he does average about 26 points per 36. So Vegas is telling us this game has a good chance to stay close enough for long enough. And so ultimately, I don't hate the idea of riding the hot hand there with Cooper Flag. But the only bet I would really want to get to his over for is going to be his over points. That being said, he's been pretty solid rebounds-wise. Wouldn't hate that. You know, he's going to get his minutes. We know that. Don't hate that. He is getting a lot more usage lately as well. Something that Jason Kidd likes to do. Not terrible. The issue I have is I think Vegas is kind of wrong about how this game could go. I don't know what to do with Marshall because, like, he is someone that should just go off. He's just had 2 terrible days shooting in a row, and so that does concern me a decent amount. Like, his over fantasy score to me was a bet that stood out like instantly, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's been trashed the last couple of days. 1 for 5, didn't shoot all that many there, 3 balls, but 4 for 15, 3 for 11, just terrible the last 2 games. Again, it's mostly due to tough matchups, but I don't necessarily love this matchup tonight. I wouldn't hate the idea of getting to his over points and rebounds as well, but that's assuming he has a better game. And so, even though he's probably going to be their number 2 tonight, I think we mostly just have to stay away. And I'm not going to lie, that feels like it sucks. Like, I don't like that. Max Christie is someone that I wouldn't be shocked to see him get just a ton of run. He is someone that I do think the lines are like, if it wasn't for his recent game long in the matchup with the Spurs where he struggled, I probably would be more inclined to get to his overs. Like, per 36, just for his fantasy score, he does average like 29 fantasy points per 36 with those players off the court. But overall, the lines end up being, I guess, pretty solid. Brandon Williams is someone I think we could bet on if he was going to be active. And so, really, in a weird way, I think we aren't getting good spots here. Caleb Martin is someone we could potentially be on as well. So, overall, we're probably just trying to get to Cooper Flagg there. Now, from there, we do have Julian Champagny over 6.5 rebounds on assists. Not a terrible matchup. You could get to that one. Gafford, I mean, if he does end up being active, he's probably going to have to play a decent amount of minutes tonight if like someone like Bagley is out as well. I don't hate that, but also don't need to get to it. Vasol, good matchup for him. Don't necessarily feel the need to get there. Same thing with Christie, again, as I mentioned. Like, there's some okay spots here, but overall, probably just looking at Flagg. And that's just rooted in, I think Vegas is wrong about this game. So, yeah, Golden State guys, completely banged up. Curry's out, both of them. Jimmy Butler is out. Porzingis obviously out. But I actually saw he was like questionable. Oh, magically questionable now after being traded. But obviously they got rid of Kuminga and they got rid of Buddy Hield. And so we're going to see a lot of their backups get some run here. And so I do think there's a good chance that we're getting some pretty insane value for some of these guys. But I mean, but the players that I like are also players where it could blow up in our face because it's not that pretty. And so like Melton here, guys, this is the best over bet that we're getting right now is his over fantasy score. And I completely like this bet. I think this bet makes a lot of logical sense, assuming that he gets more than 23 minutes. At the same time, I get why all the Warriors minutes are low because that's just been the case. They might just end up spreading out the minutes among all their, well, let's face it, backups. And so Melton, on a per 36 basis, guys, would crush this over. Per 36 wise, he averages 49 fantasy points per 36, 26 real life points. Has a 31% usage rate, most among the team with all those players off the court. And so this is like another one of those players where it does make logical sense for him to get more run than what he's projected to get. This is another one where if we want to juice some bets up, like his points, I could see us doing that. If we had the minutes saying that he, like the projected minutes saying that he was going to get more, it'd be much more intriguing. We also have Moses Moody, who doesn't really get all that many assists. He's mostly just a points guy. So like his 14 points, I could see betting the over there. Per 36, he does average 20.3 points per 36. You would imagine he would get more minutes than what he's projected to get here, guys. 4 for 8 in the last game, all from 3-ball range, which is something that I don't necessarily love. He is something that I could see betting on his over fantasy score, which is something that I do think I'm going to do. Per 36, he does average about 32 fantasy points per 36. Now, and like, it sucks that the two best spots to me in regards to players being out and us getting value on players, it sucks that both of those games we're getting a tough matchup back. Like Phoenix is a tough DVP rank and the over and under is very low in this game as well. And so that to me sucks. Like it really does. That's part of the risk there. Like if you're telling me we're getting, let's just say the Warriors against Utah straight up, and we were getting these lines, obviously, like we would be hammering them. We would just be going crazy with them. From there, guys, we need to talk about Santos as well. Santos is someone that I'm like, he's got to get more run, right? Like it just makes sense for him to get run. We see he's crushed it the last 5 games where he has gotten a little bit more run, 23 minutes. What's interesting is when he does get 23 minutes, he's only averaging about 18.8 fantasy points per 23 minutes. When he does get his per 36 production, however, is 31 points, which actually isn't a massive bump compared to some of the other players. So it is a little bit risky, but given the fact that we, in a weird way, are kind of riding the hot hand with him, I don't hate it. So there are a lot of interesting spots there. Now, we did get some comments about Draymond, I believe. We can talk about Draymond. We are seeing his fantasy score being told about on his over. Maybe. I mean, he was in trade talks. Maybe that motivates him to play well. I don't love betting on Draymond. I'll tell you that much. The fact that the game's projected to stay close is a good thing. That's for sure. His per 36 production is tough because he doesn't have a big sample. I don't even think it's worth calling out. Actually, Pods is someone that should get his over. I'm kind of jaded by his terrible play recently in that recent game. Sorry. just not much there, and the minutes haven't exactly been there. Again, he's someone where it makes logical sense for him to get more run than this. His per 36 production, 40 fantasy points, almost 41 fantasy points. It does make sense for him to get his over. I just, in a weird way, I kind of like betting on the backups more because it makes sense for it to be a game for them. Then on the flip side of this, guys, Phoenix did make a trade. Nothing too significant for them. Nick Richard traded. That's not going to shift too much, I don't think. Mark Williams is someone maybe gets throughout the season, gets more run, projected for 25 minutes. Okay. Nothing too crazy there for me. I just think the lines that we're getting for them are correct. And the same issue that we've had with them in the past is still the same issue. Is if Jalen Green's active, then that makes betting on Green, Brooks, and Colin Gillespie much more difficult. Now, it is worth calling out. Colin Gillespie did have a phenomenal game in his last game, guys. Typically speaking, after a very good day shooting like that, you expect them to not have as good of a day the following day. And so if you want to bet on some of his unders, I wouldn't hate that. I don't feel like we need to get there. And so we have one more game here. Not much, I will say. Sixers versus Lakers. Not much that I personally like here. Okay, we do know that Reeves is going to be back. And so the lines that we're getting for Luka are now correct. If Reeves were magically out, sure, we could bet on that over. But really, just the lines that we're getting, I think, in this game are mostly correct. Quentin Grimes, you could potentially get to his over here. Not terrible. We know that Paul George is obviously still out. I don't feel like we need to, though. Reeves over 3 assists. I mean, it is a good matchup. Probably going to get a little bit more minutes, but also, do we need to really bet on Reeves tonight? I think we're kind of just take the wait and see approach with him. Interesting. Okay. Is this a good thing for Dillon Brooks or a bad thing? I don't know. He will be a little bit more aggressive, I guess. Fair. Interesting with the Mark Williams line there. Yeah. Real quickly, I did just want to take a peek at the Prize Picks Optimizer real quick. There were a couple of bets that I didn't mind for college basketball, but nothing like crazy. So we have Miller for under his fantasy score. Vegas doesn't like him. They're giving him his under by a decent amount there, giving him a line of 23 or 29.3. Another one here, guys. West Virginia. Pretty decent line difference. And then there are a couple of PGA bets that will probably be going live shortly. Davis Riley to miss the cut was one that I liked a decent amount. And so if you guys are trying to look for a Prize Picks specific slip, those are some bets you could toss in there. And I bring that up because I know there's like a LeBron James discount out there, which, I mean, what is Prize Picks doing there? They're doing these discounts because everyone's mad at them for, I mean, let's face it, I talked about on the live stream that the Luka one from a couple nights was a little bit trappy because with Reeves potentially being back, like that could, like, he was at 25.5 points and he didn't get the over. I'm like, that could be his normal line if Reeves were to play his normal amount of minutes. So that was kind of interesting to me there. And now they're giving us a LeBron discount. And it's like, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, well, it's great you're giving us a discount here, but like Reeves is back. It could be Reeves and Luka that just go off points wise. So I found that pretty interesting there. Yeah, and SGA has been trash lately with all those players being out. And he was bad, and then Dillon Brooks just could not hit a shot. So it makes sense why Prize Picks is giving those discounts out, and you would want those to hit. And I always say take the discounts, but like the early two ones that we got, I'm like, that's not great. And then I saw they came out with Dillon Brooks. I'm like, well, we'll see. But I mean, you always take the discounts, guys. Well, it's funny. They're hitting 50% of the time this year in 2026, which is obviously not good. Granted, they are still they're hitting below what they should be hitting. Still, because their discounts are typily about a 60 to 57% likelihood to hit basically lately, which they're hitting below what they should. So they'll start to come back. But it was kind of interesting, just a couple of those ones. I'm like, well, I'm happy I'm limited with the amount I can spend on these that day. Yeah, real quickly, guys, we'll take a peek at the bet of the day here. I do want to call up the underdog bet that I do like. I probably should have started with this. Apologies. I did do the 2 Hornets for their over, so Ball and Miller, and then I did do Duran for their over fantasy score. Okay, so that was my underdog bet of the day, a 3-slip bet. I tend, if you guys are getting profit boost there, use those. But yeah, let's take a peek at the bets that we have here, guys. So 8 bets on the day. This, again, just want to reiterate, guys, an extremely risk-reward type day. This is a day where I would almost rather, again, juice or tease some lines. If you could do individual bets today, I think that's a safer route to go. And that's just based off of the news, based off of us not being able to project minutes properly, because a lot of these players are in random spots. And this could be a day in which coaches just try to get random looks at random lineups. They might treat this like a preseason game in a way like that, with the rotations, trying to see something. So I do like the Golden State Warriors players. They should be able to crush this. I wish they were projected for 30 minutes each. Obviously, we would like that. But that's kind of the bet on them, the Warriors players, is betting on them to get more minutes than what they're projected to get. Again, Moody projected for 24, Santos projected for 23, and then Melton projected for 23. And when we take a peek at the average projection and the DVP adjusted projection, those are telling us that actually the under is going to hit. And so those are all very simply bets based on them getting more run. Jalen Smith is a bet on all those players for Chicago that they just traded for to be out. Now, I expect most of them to sit. Jay and Ivy upgraded probable. I don't think that changes much for who we're looking at with the bigs, but interesting there. And Colin Sexton still questionable. Colin Sexton would pick up a decent amount of usage. What do you guys like? Do you like Smith over 12.5 points more or over his fantasy score? To me, I'm pretty indifferent. Obviously, the fantasy score has a higher likelihood to hit based off of Vegas projections, but he's gotten the over a little bit more consistently lately with his points. Diaby, tough matchup. That's really the bet there for his under. Cooper Flagg, a little bit of a hot hand approach there. And then Patrick Williams. I mean, he's the one player where we haven't projected for 28 minutes. If he gets that many minutes, he should be fine. He should be fine for us. That's interesting. Well, so fantasy score. that's the overall take I get there. I don't hate what the Bulls are doing, getting all these guards, but at some point you have to commit to someone. They did the same thing with Kobe White, Trey Jones, and Ayo. At some point you gotta say this is our guy. And I guess they did that with LaMelo Ball or Lonzo Ball too. Rob Dillingham's a fun guard as well. It's just what are they doing? Yuki, I like Yuki. Yuki's fun. So let's try to give you guys an official bet of the day here. We'll take the points off for Jalen Smith. I guess we can continue with Cooper Flagg over 22.5 points. That's why I played 1.53s. He does average 2.2 3-pointers made per 36. So, that's not terrible. Don't hate that. Which one do we take off here? It probably, logically speaking, would be one of the Warriors players here if you're doing a 6-slip bet. Because, again, I think 2 out of the 3 have a good chance of getting the over. It's kind of just a bet on, again, the minutes there. I guess in this specific example, we'd probably get off of Moody just because he has the lowest likelihood. So, yeah, we'll make this the 6-slip bet of the day here, guys. Again, mostly for tracking purposes. I obviously gave you guys a bunch of other bets already throughout the day. We're getting those prize picks bets that I like as well. I don't know. I don't know. Is Cooper Flagg matchup proof? Maybe, but he's also a rookie. And so, rookies tend to have more variance. Interesting call out here. Diaby. I'll have to take a peek at that. I'm gonna end the live stream here, guys. So about a 52-minute live stream here. Actually, not as much crazy news as I thought was going to occur when I started this live stream and did a little bit later here. Hopefully we get some bigger edges as the day progresses. Like, I'll show you guys this real quick. Sorting by the fantasy score prop line differences, we're really not getting that many prop line differences. So yeah, real quickly we'll do this, and then I'll begin out of here. So Pods is someone that we are seeing a decent prop line difference between the two sites. So if you like them one way or the other, we're calling that out. So obviously, one bet is over. Prize would be the spot. Daniels, we're getting a decent prop line difference for. Gets a good matchup against Utah. I wouldn't hate the idea of betting on his over on Prize Picks. Brooks, not too much there. And we're getting some players that are off by one. Let's flip this around real quick. I will say, I mean, I typically just like to put out good work and content and advice. But I don't like to ask for likes, but I will say the likes have been much lower on this channel than like I do a fantasy golf channel and a DFS channel. And I'll tell you what, like the advice I give on this one, like hit rate wise, is just better. And so I'm it's like, it's weird. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, we've had a pretty good season thus far. And people like last video got 17 likes. Now, yesterday, Jared Allen ended up being a disappointment. I really like Jared Allen. Jared Allen had 10 points in the first half and did not get another bucket in the second half. Now, granted, he only played 23 minutes. That game was a blowout. But that was weird. But yeah, I was like, what's going on with the likes lately? Like, that should be the first thing people do. Although I don't like to complain. We flipped this around, guys. And yes, we are getting a couple of prop line differences the other way. Like Grayson Allen, not a terrible middle. Especially if Jalen Green sits. Like, we see he's middled twice with the line that he has right now. So it makes sense why there is a prop line difference. I mean, 4 of the past 5 games he's gotten the over on underdog. Like, that's kind of crazy. Again, I like Jalen Duren just due to the matchup. Don't like the blowout risk. Again, just using Jared Allen as an example, only played 23 minutes. Maybe that happens with Duren where he does have a very good first half, but because of the blowout, he doesn't get there. Maybe. Con, we're seeing a pretty big prop line difference for him as well. So a lot of the Charlotte players, we're seeing some prop line differences for them. Ben Caro's been kind of mostly brutal. We're seeing his unders, low scoring game, blowout risk. I actually think that's an interesting bet there on Prize Picks, under 42. If you guys want his over, you could bet it on Prize Picks there. But there are a decent amount of prop line differences. Like, we have seen underdog, it's just typically lower on a lot of their lines. And so that's what I was saying earlier with like Isaiah Collier, guys. Just be on the lookout for Collier with his fantasy score. I'm still jaded by the Matas day where we had his over and he had 8 turnovers. It's like if he just had a normal game, turnovers wise, or even 4 turnovers in that game, he got his over fantasy score. That was against Miami, which was a game stack bet that we did. I don't want to bet on his over. I think his under is actually not a terrible route to go. Again, LaMelo Ball, I don't mind. We are seeing De'Aaron Fox with a slight prop line difference for him as well. So, yeah, I kind of mentioned this earlier. No, but and so it's the same logic from the taco on Tuesday with Luka, where when all 3 of Reeves, LeBron, and Luka are active, that just changes the likelihood for one of the 3 to maybe not have a good game. If it weren't a discount, like, I wouldn't be looking at LeBron, you know. I mean, I still take it. I typically always take those, but you don't love it. It's a pretty big discount, though. All right, guys, that is going to do it for this live stream. Appreciate everyone being here. Good luck with all the bets that you placed today. If anyone would like access to that tool that I just showed you guys, that's the Prize Picks NBA Optimizer. We have plenty of other tools available on the website as well. They're all available for a low monthly cost of $10 a month. Appreciate you guys being here. Good luck with all the bets that you place. And as always, guys, let's keep cashing.